Well, now, on this video, allow me to share with you the best banks to do business with in Kenya. All right. You know what? You guys have been asking me, hey, you know what, Joseph, what's the best bank to open an account with? What exactly should I open when I want to do business and what have you? Maybe you're not Kenyan, maybe you're here or expatriate or whatever the thing it is. Today, I'm going to share with you a couple of banks that are the best that you can be able to do business with in this country called Kenya. Anyway, guess what? Go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe if you're watching this video for the first time. This is Good Joseph speaking. I do post videos about investment, businesses, and anything related to the finances. All right. And make sure as well you leave me a comment on the comment section. Let's get into the business. Now, the point is, what is the best banks to do business in Kenya? Okay, first of all, I am not paid by any bank. I have not received any token. I'm not received anything. Actually, I'm just doing this video for the sake of my wonderful views or viewers who comes here and watch my videos. All right. And there's some of the criteria that I use to actually credit or sort of grade these banks and pick the best and what have you. Not all the banks are related to each other. And the formula that I'm going to use here is the ones that I've interacted with and I've actually have some experience with them. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. And some of the information as well, I've actually gathered from here and there from people who do business with them. And I've actually gotten that information from them. So if any bank realize that they're not on this list, well, it's what they have gotten as much as the research is concerned. The bank number one that I would say it's one of the best that you can be able to do business with in Kenya is called Standard Chartered Bank. Standard Chartered Bank. Standard Chartered Bank. Actually, if you ask me, this is like sort of like the most, elite bank in Kenya that we have and what have you in terms of their services. I mean, it's like that bank that, by the way, for example, if you're investing on treasury bills and treasury bonds, this is that bank that actually has that what we call the elaborate online banking system whereby you can do the RTGS form, filling of that RTGS. For those who understand, for those who invest on treasury bills and bonds, they know that you need that RTGS form for you to actually, credit your money back to the Central Bank of Kenya when investing. So it's only bank that you can be able to do that thing online. Otherwise, the rest you have to call them literally or maybe show up to their premises so that you can be able to fill that RTGS form for the purposes of investing on these treasury bills and the treasury bonds. Again, depends on when you're watching this video. Probably you're gonna watch this video after 2 years or 3 years or 10 or whatever, and maybe others could have upped their game, but I'm making this video at around July 3rd of 2024. So it depends. Again, I would say this is that bank that you have. They have a convenient online banking. Again, Standard Chartered Bank. By the way, did you know that this Standard Chartered Bank, it's the biggest bank we have in Africa. It's not even a Kenyan bank. It's like a very big bank that we have in Africa. Again, depends on when you're watching this video. I said when I'm making this video. And again, about the Standard Chartered Bank, you realize that actually came into Kenya from 1911. So it's a bank that has over 100 years, actually not even 100, it's over like 110 or something of sort, 113 years or thereabout. So it has been in business in this country for like the longest period of time. And it was actually listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange around 1980s, 1986, thereabout. So it's a bank that has been there. It's a PLC company, meaning that you can be able to buy shares as well. You can invest with the same bank as well. It can actually be used as a nominee to nominate you for the purposes of investing on the treasury bills and the treasury bonds. It's regarded as a commercial bank of Kenya, and so also on top of that, it's a bank that is actually adheres to all the rules and regulations as far as the accreditation of a bank system is concerned in Kenya. So it's that great bank that again it has what we call access to expert advices in case you want to get into the business. Again, is that bank that understands the foreign people who would love to invest in this country because it has presence in variety of countries. For example, in Africa, it's in South Africa, it's in Kenya, it's in Standard Chartered Bank, if you're watching me from any country in Africa, you can tell probably you have that bank in that country of yours. Another thing that about this bank is that transaction charges are quite reliable. It's not that there are hefty charges when it comes to the transactions and what have you. And of course, they have variety options as far as the business accounts are concerned. So you can pick business account A, business account B, okay, that's not the names, but there are a variety of them. So you can get much of that information. Otherwise, I could not actually concentrated all the information in this video. Actually, this could have been the longest video ever. All right. So another thing about this bank is that it's usually you need to have an initial deposit capital of 100K. You open that account with a minimum capital of 100K. By the way, maybe this is like the shortcoming of this bank or as a disadvantage of this bank. is that it's like that bank that is kind of reserved for the wealthy, like for the rich and what have you. And there was some news that they closed some of the accounts of people. I don't know who had a certain minimum of amount of money. Like it's that bank that it's not like for everyone, you know. It's that bank that if maybe you're down there, you want to grow yourself, probably it's not the bank that you can pick, you know, to work with in terms of the investments and what have you. They kind of serve, you know, you get what I'm saying, but they have an amazing, wonderful services. All right, let's go to the bank number two. The bank number two that you can actually do business with is none other than what we call Kenya Commercial Bank, or KCB. By the way, this KCB is owned by the KCB Holding Group, but again, it's a PLC company, meaning it's a public listed company. You can be able to buy shares or you can buy stocks for that company, meaning you can become one of the owners of that given bank. The largest shareholder of this bank is definitely the government, because it's kind of government, it's kind of parastatal state owned or something of sort against a PLC. Is that company that is that bank that you can say in Kenya we are proud of? It's just the way you can go to America and say the Bank of America. You see, now this is our bank, the KCB Bank, the Kenya Commercial Bank. Okay. It depends. Well, if you ask somebody, they usually have this what we call okay, fine. Let me put it this way. If you ask, it depends on who you ask. It is the biggest bank we have in Kenya. Depends whether the asset value or turnover or whatever the thing it is. But this bank and another bank called Equity, they kind of play hand in hand in terms of the who is the biggest, you know, or something of sort. It depends. This year you realize this one has trounced the other and what have you. So it's like let me just say it's the biggest bank that we have in Kenya. You know, it's that bank that usually have what we call, you don't need a minimum amount of money to get started on this bank account. Again, what happens, it has a variety of business accounts that you can be able to open, like the Bankika Bank account, business account. You can be able to open that. They also have another bank, a business account called the SME account. That is small and medium enterprises that you can be able to open a bank account. They usually give you what we call the free monthly banking statements that you don't have to pay anything. You can be able to access that. Also, accessibility of the loans and the credits and what have you, and support of the business growth. It's like, by the way, this is like an amazing bank when it comes to, maybe say you're starting down there. It's a bank that you can actually grow with, and you can be able to also be able to pull up your business and move it to the next level. It has been there in Kenya for quite a long period of time. All right, you can check it out most about that specific bank on what exactly they, or when they actually started on the same thing. Now, the Bankika business account offered by the KCB Bank can actually help you to access what we call the business or the global access of the account. You know, like gives you that, you know, exposure globally. You can be able to access this account and be able to do transactions in the business and what have you. All right. The other thing, this bank account called the KCB Bank, they usually offer what we call the what do you call it, investment banking. They have a section of the investment banking. Under the investment banking, this is where they can offer you what you call the treasury bills, treasury bonds. You do want to go the hassles and bustles of opening the account with the Central Bank of Kenya, of which I highly recommend anyway. If you don't want to go and get the be nominated, if you can be able to access it, if you're a Kenyan, especially if you're a resident, you have all the accreditation, you can be able to invest by yourself on the primary market. So if you don't want to go all those hassles and bustles, you can actually use this bank under the investment banking section. They can be able to front you to as a nominee of the bank, or nominee of a commercial bank, because it's a requirement by the Central Bank of Kenya. This is the question that most of the people tend to ask me. Hey Joseph, can I invest on treasury bills and bonds in Kenya? Yes, you can. If I'm not a Kenyan, yes, you can. But you must be nominated by a commercial bank of Kenya. And commercial bank of Kenya does not necessarily mean it has to be KCB. Any other bank in Kenya apart from the Central Bank of Kenya can nominate you, provided you front the appropriate and required documents like the business permits. They ask you that, KRA PIN if you have a company and what have you, so that you can be able to open a bank account with Kenyan bank. Then you can be able to go there. So KCB actually have that section of the investment banking. This is where you find people like shares, or the KCB Capital, which is a brokerage firm that can help you be able to, what we call the buy shares. You can use them as a broker for the purposes of buying shares, and also issues to do with the bills, the bonds, the money market funds, and what have you. So those are the things that we can be able to get once you enroll with the KCB Bank. The other thing, they usually offer what we call easy interbanking transfer or inter-account transfer. You can transfer money from one account, be it a personal account to another account, and what have you. The other thing, just like I said, they have a free monthly statement that is usually sent to you. You can also be able to import in this account without any minimum balance as needed, and also many other factors that you can be able to get started on. That is KCB Bank for you. Go check it out and see what you can be able to do as far as that bank is concerned. We go to the third bank, that is called the Cooperative Bank. By the way, these are like the biggest banks that you have in Kenya. The Cooperative Bank, obviously, we usually have what we call, they can offer you what we call negotiated foreign exchange rates and what have you. Another thing about this Cooperative Bank, by the way, in Kenya, if you ask me, not even you ask me, even if you were to Google, you realize that three banks, they usually, wrestle in terms of the biggest banks. We have the KCB, the Equity, or sometimes it can be Equity, KCB, Cooperative. Those are like the biggest banks that we have in Kenya, and whereby you can be able to get started on. They have a lot of branches in Kenya. All of them, they have mobile banking transfer. By the way, do you know what? In Kenya, we lead in terms of the mobile banking globally. And I want you to go check this one out. Kenya is the leader of mobile banking or mobile money transfers in the world, not in continent of Africa. We lead in terms of that. We have an amazing transaction method called M-Pesa, and every bank that I'm talking about here, they usually have that transfer method. I mean, nowadays, even the smallest business in the streets, you can even pay using your mobile phone. That is the most beautiful thing about this great country of ours. So for me, if you ask me, I would say Kenya has the biggest potential to become one of the biggest economies outside Africa, actually, if that's even possible. By the way, I do believe that can be very possible. So Cooperative Bank, it has a different bank account that you can open as far as the businesses are concerned, like Haba na Haba, like MSME. You can be able to open those bank accounts and be able to do some businesses. And also the minimum balance you need to open with is just 550 Kenyan shilling. So it's quite affordable if you're actually starting out from down below there, and you can be able to grow yourself to the next level. All right. So those are the top three banks that I would say are the best to do business in Kenya. But allow me to introduce other banks, and I'm gonna mention them briefly and what exactly you can be able to get. But allow me to give a credit where it's due. Equity Bank is one of the biggest bank in Kenya. Here I said is the Cooperative Bank. We call it Coop Bank. Yeah. If you just Google Cooperative Bank, then we have what we call Equity Bank. Equity Bank nowadays is just called Equity. Equity. And by the way, for your information, I forgot to mention something. KCB Bank, it's not only found in Kenya, it's found all over the East Africa. You're gonna find the KCB Bank in Rwanda, it's in Uganda, it's in DRC Congo, it is in South Sudan. You're gonna get this bank in Tanzania, you're gonna get it in Uganda. It's all over the place. In Burundi, probably, if I'm not wrong, you're gonna get it. The only place that I'm not sure you're gonna get this bank, it is in Ethiopia. Why? Because of the policies of Ethiopia. The banking system are controlled by the government. It's not like open and what have you. That's a whole complex structure of the banking system in Ethiopia. Equity Bank, again, you're gonna find it in DRC Congo. You're gonna find it in Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda. Like this, I would say generally, and I stand corrected, generally the banking industry in Kenya is quite doing okay. These are companies that you can as well buy shares for because they're doing great, and also they have the presence in all over the Eastern Africa. So if you come from the Eastern Africa or East Africa, you can be able to access the services of these banks, and you can be able to earn something and be able to make some cash as you move to the next level. The other banks that I can be able to mention again as we move forward, there's a bank called Absa. Absa generally originates from South Africa. It's called the Amalgamated Banks of South Africa. They are like 6 banks kind together and what have you. So they have a presence in Kenya. I think they swallowed the franchise of Barclays Bank. They bought that franchise and what have you. I don't want to go into the details of that. And then we have other bank called the Family Bank. By the way, if you ask me, Family Bank is that bank that a lot of people has a track record of growing with it all the way from little as far as the growth of business is concerned. Family Bank, all these banks actually originate from Kenya, except this Absa Bank and the Standard Chartered Bank. This one, I think, is from London or South Africa. I don't know. You guys can actually tell me. And the Absa Bank is from the South Africa. So I would say the continent of Africa, the banking system in South Africa is quite doing amazing. But the difference is that in Kenya, we have more banks than South Africa. We even have more banks than Nigeria and what have you. So we kind of wrestle. In Africa, I would say Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Morocco and what have you. We are really doing good in terms of the business, and others are coming up at a very high rate, and all other African countries are worth investing on. So I was decided to share with you some of those banks that you can be able to do business with in Kenya. Either you're a Kenyan or you're outside Kenya or you're not even a Kenyan. So those are some of the banks that you can pick it up and start investing with them. For now, it's a goodbye. Don't forget, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe and wow, and make sure that you also go ahead and make a comment on the comment section. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.